the majority of our life is lived in liminal space.
And there's this in-between space, this liminal space.
This liminality that reveals possibility.
I think we're in a liminal moment, but also in a place of transformation.
I have great affection for the church and a troubled relationship with it.
Just to be alive in time means that we're on the threshold of the future.
That can't be the gospel, because God said to love our neighbors.
We don't know what the future looks like. We have to work it out together.
All right, I think we're ready.
Is the
metronome
off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the metronome is off. Jeremy, how you doing?
Good, Tom. How are you?
I'm excited. I've been trying to work all the technical stuff out in my head for a while for this, and then we spent 3 hours yesterday figuring it out.
Yeah, for the most part, I think so.
Yeah. And now, espressoed up, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a little bit of a break from what I normally do on the podcast, because I didn't want to keep a whole schedule for the summer,
Sure.
being tied to the office and needing to come in and do interviews. And I've done a lot of interviews, and I think it's time that we just said something now instead of asking a lot of questions. Stuff needs to be said.
Yeah.
And I think songs are a good way to do it. And so I asked you if we could, I don't know if all the people know this, but we're in a band.
We are.
we are in a band, the Tom Ropel Band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although Tom Ropel, we don't know who he is.
There's always an open spot for Tom Ropel if you're out there.
He never shows up to practice. I don't know.
Never shows up.
He might. The fun part about the Tom Ropel Band name is we play a lot of stuff for the city, and they mistook my last name, and they misspelled it, and we didn't have a name, so we just adopted it.
And it stuck because it's like your nickname.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick your nickname.
Yeah, you don't get to pick your nickname. If you picked it, then you're
Right.
you're kind of a dork at that point.
Yeah. Apologies to anybody who picked their own nickname out there.
Nicknames. Well, this is a kind of a summer of songs of resistance, because we're in a political moment that is absolutely nuts, and I think anyone with a platform should be saying something.
Agreed.
Trying to push the needle in any way we can. And I've been doing a lot of learning and asking questions and growing, and so I think it's time to say some stuff, and so that's what this is all about today. So,
Yeah, man.
But you kind of picked out some of your favorite, I guess they're kind of resistance songs. They're not necessarily protest songs, but
Yeah. I think protest, and then by extension maybe protest segueing into call to action type tunes.
Yeah.
that I really like.
because you can't just shout. You got to actually then go and do something. And
Yeah.
shouting's important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to just shout and comment. It's a lot harder to actually do something about what's going on around you.
Yeah. One of the things, we're really captured with national news, global news, and that captures our attention. And then there's very little we can do about that stuff, other than get mad or upset or sad. In some cases, people dance in the streets or whatnot. But I find that it kind of makes you feeling very disempowered and helpless and depressed, because it's all this stuff is happening that I'm aware of that I really can't directly influence. And so I've been trying to be aware of what's going on nationally, but then localize action, localize how I find hope, how I find happiness and joy. Because you look at the national news, either side, and it's just a train wreck. But then if you look in your backyard, to your neighbor, in your family, in your city or small town, and then you localize, how am I going to be happy while everything's on fire? And it gives you a little bit more empowerment, because this is the thing that I can influence is, the square circle, this radius.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to figure out, how can I re-empower myself to find joy and happiness and purpose in a localized context? Because I read stuff on the news and I'm I can't do anything about that. shout all I want. I can make a post, and I think there's a place for that. But ultimately, it doesn't it doesn't move the needle much, and so it leaves you feeling helpless and hopeless. So localizing action, I think, then has that grassroots movement to it that I'm hoping that stuff like this keeps moving the ball forward a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you do feel helpless. I think what's good though, to your point, it starts at home, and spreads out into your community. And at the end of the day, you wake up in the morning, and how you interact with your neighbors and strangers that you run into is so important. You eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I messed that joke up, but yeah, I think definitely talking about it, and even talking with your family, your friends, if you can. I think that's part of the bigger problem too, is that all our discourse is in this strange world we live in, where like X and posting online is like the worst version of back when we started communicating via email. You would say things to people, your coworkers, that you would never say to their face, and that always really bothered me. And I think it's 1,000 times worse today. But the key is having an open and honest dialogue. And what I find strange about that is, everybody listens to podcasts now, and now you can listen to people talk for hours, and it's almost like we listen to other people talk, but we don't actually have those conversations.
Yeah,
with other human beings face to face. And I think if you look culturally, historically, that's what we used to do, but now we can kind of hide behind our computer screens and our smartphones and do it that way. And I don't think I don't think humans are to the point where we can do that effectively.
Yeah, and sometimes it could be scary having a conversation with a friend, because they might be in one tribe and you're in another, or a family member or whatnot. And we have just come to this place where it's like everyone just arms themselves with as much of their tribe's verbiage as they can, and there isn't really any truth anymore. It's more of, my side told me to say this, so I will, kind of a thing.
Right.
And then conversations are really just like dueling monologues at that point, and they're not conversations. They're harder to have, and it's really hard to even approach a conversation with somebody who's used to the dual monologuing. It's like, let's talk about this, and they just want to spew their points, and it's like, you're not talking, you're not conversing, you're just
right.
puking out whatever Fox News told you, or it's like, that shapes your brain, it shapes your mind, it shapes the stories that you embrace that define reality. And it's no longer facts. It's more of like, my tribe has painted this story with this vocabulary, and I must adopt it to remain faithful. And it's just really hard to have a conversation with someone like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the more important part of having a conversation is actually listening. And I think people have conversations like we're now talking to one another the way that we post.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's not good. Definitely. So, yeah, here we are, 2025.
I know. It's like, I think it's just so important to find those sources that actually give you like historical and factual, and instead of just following like media outlets, like finding the sources. And it's really hard to know. Like I think one of the goals of the Trump administration is just flood the zone. They've used that vocabulary, like flood the zone, just like, and what I've seen is people who are like moderates then unplug, because it's like, I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know who to believe anymore, because, there's just all this flooding of the zone. And it's like, well, it's working. propaganda is working. They've flooded the zone, and now you don't care. You've disconnected. And to re-engage and to stay plugged in, you got to find those sources that are like, they're actually talking about the Constitution itself, or how we function as a democracy, or the history of, how we came to be, and not just the narratives that we've adopted from propaganda. And I don't know where I was headed with that. I guess I'm irritated by that.
Well, I think it's something I've noticed in the last several years is that perception overwhelms objective reality, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I think propaganda comes into play, unfortunately. So, I suppose music in a certain way, if done, I don't want to say done correctly, but hopefully hopefully we can lean on art to point out the objective reality that we're living in, and we can use that as a guide. I think that's important. I don't know what percentage of the population does right now, but
yeah, I agree.
And I think of the 100 years ago, we had Woody Guthrie.
Yes, God bless Woody Guthrie.
He stuck his neck out, and his songs were so amazing, and he practiced what he preached, and punched up, called out corruption, and called out the abuse of power, and that made a huge difference at the time. I don't know if you can do the same thing today, but I like to hope so.
It's like I like what Jesse Wells is doing, which you've sent me his stuff. My wife sent me his stuff. He's doing like what Woody Guthrie did, but we have a different environment to do it in.
Yes.
And it's like, now you have to do it on the internet.
Yes.
And doing that on the internet, you have to be like really skilled in how all that social stuff works, which I'm not. Anyone who's struggled to find me on the internet, it's like, because I don't know how like algorithms work and whatnot, but you need like teams of people that understand that now to promote your stuff. And it's like, but Jesse Wells is like, he just sits with a guitar in a field and plays a song that just tells the truth. And
they're amazing.
Yeah. I sent you one. Did you listen to the newest one?
No, not yet.
The bombing of Iran. Sometimes we bomb Iran. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know about reincarnation, but he may be Woody Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie, come back, resurrected.
Yeah. I don't know if you can. Unfortunately, you're right. I think nowadays you can be exposed to way more people than 100 years ago on the internet. But I feel like people are just flooded with so much content that it's hard to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some songs that we wanted to play and kind of talk about. And this is a weird hybrid of a podcast for me because we're doing music, but we're also doing some talking and reflecting. But one of the songs, and then we're going to open with this one, you wrote it, and
I did, yeah.
We've played it publicly a few times, and it's great to see some of the audience get awkward with it, but it's a really powerful song, and I've wanted to use this as the soundtrack to my podcast for a while, and I'm like, we got to record that because I just want it as the credits of my podcast. And so now we're actually going to record it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I've only ever recorded it on my phone for everybody to learn.
And now we got like fancy gear.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the song and how it came to be. What it's about.
This one I think is more of it's a call to action to good, decent people. I think I'm trying to think back. it was unfortunately when George Floyd was murdered, and this song kind of, I think songs are kind of, I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but songs are kind of out there and you kind of have to find them. And, you know, if I try to sit down and write a song with intent, it sometimes doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden they kind of pop out. And this one was written like in one sitting. I think I had the whole song done in like 15 minutes.
Holy cow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which doesn't happen that often. Like I said, it just kind of comes in, you know, you get an idea. And yeah, I think I don't want to talk too much about it, but I think it kind of speaks for itself. But it's more of a call to action, like how disappointing it is at how, I think what really bothered me about that is was so painful to see that happen. And then you could, like, it was divisive. Like you had to pick one side or the other. And, you know, I choose the side of the oppressed, the people who are abused, and, you know, and then there's this, you know, character assassination stuff that goes on. And it's like, none of that matters. This man was killed in broad daylight. And it just was really upsetting to me, and really upsetting to me in the context of, you know, we try to raise our children, and I was brought up to be, you know, respectful and courteous, and primarily due to my, you know, my upbringing in the Christian faith. You know, I think I have a decent understanding of what the direction is of what we should do and how we should treat our neighbors. Right. And it just was really disappointing. So yeah, that was about, and, you know, and on that, I think I've said this to you before, we are kind of victims and benefactors of time and geography. You know, I didn't choose the century to be born into that I was born into. I didn't choose my complexion. I didn't choose my eye color. You know, and this, I think that was part of it. Like, to think that you would treat somebody differently because they look different than you, really, I don't get it. It's so frustrating. So that was kind of part of it, too. So,
all right. Well, you say we
let's give it a go.
Play this one, and
all right,
and see where it goes afterwards.
All right. My brother's still locked in chains by no choice of his own. I exercise my freedom by the luck of a draw. Well, I say freedom shouldn't be a game that we gamble on. That's not what my heroes sang about, or marched for, or died for. I see fault and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. One requires justice for action,
Others up to you and me. So wake up, righteous people. Do what you know to do, what your grandma taught you to. Don't let these chains get a hold of you. Don't let these chains get a hold of you. America, sometimes not so beautiful, and lately their grace seems in short supply. But that's what we get when we focus on just the things we want, forsaking those of us truly in need. I say fault and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. One requires justice for action. It's up to you and me. So wake up, righteous people. Do what you know to do, what your grandma taught you to. Don't let these chains hold you. Don't let these chains hold you. Don't let these chains hold you. Our love's not what we think it is, 'cause we haven't dreamed big enough. Our love's not what we think it is. How many more miles must we march? Oh, our love's not what we think it is, 'cause we haven't dreamed big enough. Our love's not what we think it is. How many more miles must we march?
Yeah.
All right, we made it.
Hey, we made it through. We did it. Song number 1.
How many more to go? 12 more to go.
As many as we want. Gosh, that song's powerful. Like, how many more miles must we march? I almost like cry every time you sing that part.
Well, that's a nod to some full disclosure. I'm a huge. I would say the person who inspired me to write songs and play music in front of people is Ben Harper. He's probably my absolute favorite songwriter. And there's a song when I first started playing music in front of people. There's a song that he wrote, How Many Miles Must We March, which is a great tune. Check it out. That's a we should have learned that one. So that's a nod to Mr. Harper as an inspiration to me, as a very powerful songwriter. So
what were there any lyrics that were a part of this song that you're kind of surprised came out? Like, holy cow, where'd that come from? Or
I think, yeah, I think I speak to, and I said it like we are who we are, and we look the way we look, and we didn't get to choose that. And I forget the back when the thing happened with George Floyd, and kind of all at that time there seemed to be the zeitgeist of like police brutality, specifically against African Americans. And there was a school teacher that became somewhat famous in the 80s, and Michael Render, Killer Mike. I remember he kind of was on CNN or something, and he kind of brought her teaching to the forefront. She was a older white woman, and she used to do curriculum in her classroom where she would talk about eye color, and I unfortunately I forget her name right now. Somebody's going to remember it, but it was very powerful because it was.
I remember that story.
It was
now.
like she would segregate the class based upon. They're all white kids, so she would segregate the class based upon eye color, and the kids were like, "What? That's not fair," and she would kind of go on from there and make the point. And so yeah, that's kind of that was initially the inspiration, and then I think the sleight of hand, the America the Beautiful, sometimes it's pretty ugly, seems pretty ugly right now. And we always talk about this ideal of what this country is, and it's like, come on, is it?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I mean, it's not what I think the civil rights movement was pushing for. I don't think we're there to the point where the idealism that they saw. And I don't even feel like it's the country that, like what would, I was thinking in context of what would historical figures think about where we're at right now. I think they'd be kind of disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, I think all around. Even Ronald Reagan would be like, what the heck is going on?
Right.